The morning he left still lingers in my mind like a half-forgotten dream, blurred at the edges, yet painfully sharp at the center. The sky was a pale gray, the kind that promised neither rain nor sunshine, just the quiet heaviness that hangs before a storm. I remember the smell of freshly baked bread drifting from Mrs. Adler's bakery down the street. Children ran past, their laughter out of place in a town shadowed by the sound of distant trains and the echo of marching boots. My husband, Thomas, stood by the doorway, his uniform freshly pressed, his cap tucked beneath his arm. He looked impossibly handsome, and impossibly young. "You'll write to me?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my effort to sound brave. He smiled, that same small crooked smile that had stolen my heart the day we met at the summer fair. "Every week," he promised. "And I'll be home before the leaves fall." It was April 1942. The leaves didn't fall until November. And Thomas never came home. But that morning, I still believed in miracles. I fixed his collar, straightened the metal pin to his chest, and kissed him like it might be the last time, though I told myself it wasn't. He held my face in his hands and whispered, "Don't wait by the window too much. Live, Anna. Promise me." I didn't answer, because I knew I would wait. When the train finally pulled away, I stood there long after it disappeared over the hill, my hand pressed against my chest, the echo of his last wave burning behind my eyelids. That was the morning the world split into before and after. For months, the letters became my lifeline. Every week, the postman would hand me an envelope smudged with dust and fingerprints, the paper creased and worn. I would run my fingers over his handwriting before I dared to open it, afraid that if I read too fast, it would end too soon. "My dearest Anna, the nights are long, but your memory keeps me warm. The stars here are dull, I miss the ones over our roof. Tell me about the garden. Has the lilac bloomed yet?" He never mentioned the fighting directly. Only small details slipped through, a comrade lost, a rationed meal, a song sung quietly by the fire. In one letter, he sent a pressed flower, a wild daisy, flattened and fragile. "Found this near the trench," he wrote. "It made me think of you." I placed it between the pages of our wedding Bible. Sometimes, when the town was quiet and the air heavy with the fear of air raids, I would sit by the candlelight and write him back, stories about our home, about Mrs. Adler's bakery, about the neighbor's baby who had just learned to walk. I never told him how the nights felt endless without him, or how every siren made me drop to my knees and pray he was safe. I wanted my words to be light, a small piece of peace sent across a world of chaos. But as the months passed, the letters came less often. Then one day they stopped. At first, I told myself the mail was slow, that the front lines were moving, that he was busy. But then a week passed. 2, 3. The postman stopped meeting my eyes. The neighbors whispered. Every knock on the door made my heart leap and crumble at once. Then came the letter. It wasn't from Thomas. It was from the army. The envelope was heavier, official, with a red seal. My hands shook as I broke it open. "We regret to inform you." I didn't finish reading. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes, staining the ink. He was missing in action. That phrase, those 3 words, haunted me. It didn't say he was dead. It didn't say he was alive. It left me suspended in a cruel, endless maybe. For months, I refused to believe it. I dreamed of him walking through the door, covered in dust but smiling. I set 2 plates for dinner every night. I kept writing letters, even when no one replied. Then one winter morning, a soldier knocked on my door, young, weary, with a limp and eyes far too old for his face. "Mrs. Carter?" he asked softly. I nodded. He held out a small parcel wrapped in worn fabric. "He saved my life," he said. "Your husband, Thomas." I couldn't breathe. My fingers trembled as I unwrapped the cloth. Inside was Thomas's silver pocket watch, the one engraved with our initials. The soldier continued, his voice breaking. He pulled me out of the fire when our camp was attacked. He didn't make it. The words fell like stones. Time stopped. After that day, the world seemed quieter, as if it too mourned him. I buried the pocket watch beneath the oak tree in our garden, the same place where he had proposed to me 4 years earlier. Spring came, and the lilacs bloomed again, their scent filling the air like a memory that refused to fade. Sometimes I imagine Thomas standing by the fence, his uniform dusted with sunlight, smiling that same soft smile. But when I blinked, he was gone. The town rebuilt itself slowly after the war. New families moved in, children played in the streets again, and laughter returned, faint at first, then stronger. But I never stopped waiting. People told me to move on, to find someone new, to start over. But how could I, when half of my soul was buried on a battlefield I would never see? Instead, I found comfort in his letters. I kept them in a wooden box beneath our bed, reading them on sleepless nights until the words became a prayer. Once, I dreamed of him. We were sitting by the river, his hand in mine, the world at peace. He whispered, "You kept your promise, Anna. You lived." When I woke up, I cried, not because I was sad, but because I finally understood what he meant that morning before he left. To live didn't mean to forget. It meant to carry him with me, in every breath, every sunrise, every whisper of wind through the trees. Years later, when the world had changed and the scars of war had begun to fade, I found one last letter, hidden between the pages of the Bible, beside the pressed daisy. It was one I had written but never sent. My dearest Thomas, the lilacs have bloomed again. The house is quiet without you. I sit by the window every evening, waiting for footsteps that never come. I know you told me to live, but it feels like life stopped the day you left. If you ever read this, know that I loved you not for the years we shared, but for every heartbeat that still belongs to you. I read it aloud, my voice breaking on his name. Then I walked to the garden, to the oak tree, and buried the letter beside the pocket watch. For the first time, I didn't cry. The sun broke through the clouds, lighting up the branches, and for a moment, just a fleeting moment, I felt him there beside me. Maybe love doesn't end. Maybe it just changes shape. Now, as I sit by the window of our old home, gray-haired and slow, the world outside feels peaceful again. Children laugh, church bells ring, and the air smells of lilac and rain. The war is something that lives in history books now, but for me, it still echoes in the spaces between my breaths. Every time I hear the whistle of a distant train, I remember that morning, his hand waving, his eyes full of hope, his voice telling me to live. And I do. I live for both of us. One evening, many years later, my grandson dug near the oak tree while playing. He came running, his hands dusty. "Grandma, look what I found," he said, holding the silver pocket watch, rusted but still intact. I held it close, my heart trembling. The engraving was still there, T&A forever. I smiled through tears. "Who was it, Grandma?" he asked. "My husband," I whispered. "A hero." That night, I placed the watch on the windowsill, where moonlight could touch it. And when the wind passed through the open window, it sounded like his laughter, soft, distant, and full of love. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in decades, I didn't feel alone.